I was coming home the other night from the Y, and I'm going to move back here. And I don't know if this has ever happened to anybody here, but I was on a city bike, and no one gave me the memo that there was a half marathon happening or some such thing or some distance or some run was happening. There was an ocean of people in Central Park. Like literally you couldn't walk into Central Park across the street because it was just so full of a never-ending ocean of humanity. And they were just, it's just incredible just to see that. I was so excited about it. I was like, oh, this is New York. Look at all these people running. It's 6 o'clock on a Wednesday night or whatever it was. But I couldn't get across with my bike. And I just was like waiting to get in. And very quickly, the beauty of New York, the things about New York that I love, quickly turned into some of the things about New York that I think are very difficult. As no shortage of epithets were thrown my way as I edged my city bike through the mass of ocean of humans, each of them trying to make their best time and hurling all kinds of things at me verbally. It was certainly a moment that went from peace and bliss to pain and awkwardness very quickly. And it was a good story for a sermon. So I tucked it away. Wherever I go now, people say to me, is that a sermon? I think that's just a story with my kid. No, is that a sermon? Is that a sermon? But I couldn't help but think about what it is to try to navigate our way in the world when the direction that we want and what we need is very much at odds with what everyone else seems to want and need. Was I a contrarian? Was I annoying? Probably. Should I have known better than to try to make my way across that? Probably. But the question of security or stability and conflict, those two things, like the sense of being grounded and then all of a sudden finding ourselves in the midst of something altogether destabilizing and very conflictual is, I think, at play in the beginning of tomorrow morning's Torah portion. Bechukotai, tomorrow morning's reading, is the end of the book of Leviticus, the book of Vayikra, the third book of the Torah. It's known as the Tochecha, the rebuke, because it has many curses in it. All of the consequences of what will happen if we don't lead the life of the Torah. But it begins not with those curses, but with promises. And the promises are, though shorter, are general promises, big blessings. Right? If you walk in my ways, the Torah says, you'll get rain, you'll have abundance, there'll be crops, trees of the field will provide fruit. The threshing season will last until your grape harvest, and the grape harvest will last until, it's just going to be incredible. I mean, and then the verse says, after telling us all about, that we're going to have all of this abundance, the end of verse 5 says, Vishavtem labetach be'artzechem, you will then be able to settle in security in your land. V'natati shalom ba'aretz, and then I will also place peace in the land. Ushchavtem ve'em macharid, you'll go to bed and there's no terror. So one of the well-known questions on this is, why place peace at the end? Why not front-load this blessing with the best one? So Rabbi say, of course, peace is better than all the other blessings. If you don't have peace, none of the other things matter. You can have a great economy, but if you don't have peace, it's not good. And why does peace have to be told to us if there's already a promise of security? You'll have security, it says, and then God says, I'll also give you peace. Isn't security peace? Aren't we settled? Isn't it enough to be at the side of the road? Don't go anywhere. They're running their direction. I'm running my direction. Let's not. It's like there's stability. It's safe. You're safe to run. I'm safe to cross. It's good. What did peace add here that security was missing? So when we think about peace, we think about the absence of conflict. I was at a training for managers at the 92nd Street Y this week, and it was all about conflict resolution. And I can't tell you how many awkward laughter moments were there. Like when the facilitator was telling you, like, when you have an argument with or they say something at work, and like there was no shortage of conflicts. Right? Everyone could say, like, oh, I know what a conflict feels like. I know when I want to do something, my boss wants me to do something else, or I have an idea, or I know what it's like to sit at the lunch table, I need to go out for coffee. Something might happen, like we're going to hit each other. My bike is going to try to go this way, you're running this way. It's going to happen. And then they asked, is it ever possible to live and work without conflict? And they put up a big image of like the continuum of conflict, it was called. And where do you find yourself? And there was like constant conflict or absence of conflict completely. And most people wanted there to be at least a little bit of conflict. But the promise of it was that you can navigate conflict well. And that conflict somehow is bad, or it's an unhealthy thing. It's an unhealthy phenomenon. In the Jewish tradition, it might surprise you to hear that the word shalom, which means peace, is not the promise of no conflict. It might surprise you to hear that shalom does not mean, in our tradition, the absence of conflict. I'll read to you one of the most beautiful pieces that I think I've ever read in Torah from the great first rabbi of Palestine, pre-mandate Palestine, Abraham Isaac HaKohen Kook, Rav Kook. In his commentary on the Siddur, on the prayer book, wrote this. I'll read it in Hebrew and then translate. The rabbis teach us that Talmidei Chachamim, students of Torah, marbim shalom ba'olam, students of Torah increase peace in the world. And Rav Kook says, has anybody ever studied Torah? Have you ever been to a place where they're studying Torah? There's no peace. Rabbis are creating machloket, fighting all the time. You say tahor, we say tameh. You say potato, I say potato. You say tomato, I say tomato. Let's call the whole thing off. It's all they do. You stand on this side, I'll stand on that side. Beit Shammai says, I'm over here. Beit Shammai says, okay, then I'm over there. You can't go one step in the ocean of Talmud without stumbling into a fight, a conflict, a disagreement. It's the nature of the rabbinic tradition is not only that there is conflict, but they increase conflict. How can the rabbis then say that they're marbim shalom, they're increasing peace? Which one is it? Are you increasing conflict or are you which one? So Rav Kook says this. He said, harchavat adayot, that the increasing of ideas, or hadat tzarich latzeit el kol tzadav lechol hapanim shel ora sheyesh ba, aval haribui hu rav shalom banaich ad tikri banaich el bonaich ki habinyan yibaneh michalakim shonim ve'amet shel she'or ha'olam tibaneh mitzdadim shonim u'mishitot shonot ve'derech hamachloket yavi le'od deot ve'od machlokot ve'od ribui ve'chiluk inyanim. He said that peace means the increasing of the beauty of all of the different pieces of the puzzle. That peace should be understood, the word shalom should be understood, that thing that can hold the pieces together. And the more pieces, the better. And the bigger the shalom that needs to be in order to hold the more pieces. That instead of thinking about shalom as a static absence of conflict, it is the container that allows conflict to fester, to increase, to be even more fructive, to have even more angles, even more. We call this democracy. Shalom equals democracy. Not shalom achshav, but democracy achshav. Democracy now meaning that the more ideas and the more opinions, the more the possibility of a liberalism that allows for voices and positions and perspectives to be increased, the greater is the shalom. And you say to yourself, no, that's going to just make it fractious. There'll be more fighting. Nobody will get together. This is the reason why security comes before there is peace. When you feel safe, when I feel safe to bring what's bothering me, what it is that I want to get to that side of the road. And you say, no, we want to go this way. And I said, no, to be a human being is to have a yearning and a longing and a desire. And desires are by definition conflictual. And guess what, everybody? We don't need democracy only in the body politic. If anybody's ever sat in meditation for even 30 seconds, you and I both know that we ourselves are in conflict all the time. We didn't need Freud to come along and tell us the news. It wasn't something new. I want to go here, but no, I want to go here. I want that person, I want that person, I want this, and I want that. We ourselves are full of conflict. And shalom is the container that can allow us to hold it without it becoming something ugly. In fact, the absence of that container is what leads conflict to spill over. When there isn't safety, the safety that comes with being able to sit, v'yishavtem labetach, you can sit and you feel a sense of security, and then you'll be blessed with peace, a peace that can see the things that without security you won't look at, you won't hear, you won't care about. The Torah didn't have to tell us that society is itself rooted in conflict. We didn't need John Locke to come along and John Stuart Mills, all of those, wonderful. What a beautiful tradition. The Torah already told us that the greatest blessing you can have is peace. A peace that can hold multiplicity. A peace that can hold all of the different conflicts that you, me, all of us feel each and every day of our lives. I was sitting yesterday in your beautiful synagogue, in Stephen Weiss Free Synagogue, and did I get that right? Is it Stephen Weiss Free Synagogue? And I did a session with an amazing cantor, Julia Codrain. We did meditation and song. And I sat and I realized that as I was sitting and watching my mind and my body, I recognized everything that's happening in the world was happening in me. It's all like a microcosm. My own hopes, my own dreams, my own longings, all of the ways that my mind will split things. And as I sat and I made these blessings real for me, that I sat in safety and security, said I gave myself room to feel, to think, to notice, more peace happened for me. I felt shalom increasing. As I felt shalom increasing and made more room, I had more thoughts and more ideas and more things moving in opposite directions. But thankfully, there was nobody inside of me cursing at me the way those guys, when I tried to cross the street in Central Park, were cursing at me. How dare you? You. It's been a long 8.5 months for all of us. And it's not going to get easier. The news yesterday should make anybody who thought that the next 6 months are going to be a walk in the park or a bike ride in the park completely, you woke up. And the greatest practice that we can do is to practice the practice of shalom, of holding the complexity of our own hearts, the jagged edges, the places we want to cross the street that someone else doesn't want us to or we don't want ourselves to find that koach, that strength. That's what spiritual practice is all about. It's a very different practice from protest. It's a very different practice from protest. It's a very different practice from writing op-ed pieces. It's a very different practice from posting things on Facebook and Instagram. It's a very different practice. And I think that if I can speak for the last 8.5 months, I would say that I've been guilty. I'm saying a lot of us, the sense of insecurity in some way has led to our removal or our retreat from some of those very practices that are required for us to be able to appreciate the security when it arrives. That here we are right now. You can even check yourself right now. Do you feel safe right now? Do you feel safe enough to drop in, to touch the heart, to touch the mind? Is it Gil downstairs? Who's downstairs? It's Gil. Or is there a way that you can bring that security and promise to yourself, no matter where you are now, whether you're at a loud bar doing a gig, or you're at some Shabbat table, or you're surfing your synagogue wave, is there a way that we can remember that we ourselves are responsible for building shalom in the world? And we do it by creating a bigger space, a bigger tent, a bigger heart, a bigger mind, for more shalom, for more. So, if you see those guys who are running the marathon, you know them, they're the ones that yell and scream when things don't go exactly the way they want them to go, or when someone interrupts their beautiful yoga flow, or they're on their mission to finish the marathon fast enough. Or if you see some guy by the end of the road who should probably not be crossing the road, who should have known that, like, what are you doing? These guys are running a marathon. What are you doing? You'll know that you've entered your own heart-mind, where things and vectors are going in opposite directions, and we can respond by making room for those, or by cursing one or the other, and it will never end. We pray for a day when there is a great, great peace that washes over this entire world. From east to west and north to south, every single human embraced in God's peace. Oseh shalom b'romav, uyaseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol ha'olam, v'imru amen.